Okay, so here is part two. So let's discuss things, right? At this point in time, Danae is considering leaving Derek, right? She has the kids with her. And remember, the last time she had told him that if he didn't break off these relationships and these soul ties with these other women, she was going to be out. So one night she called her mother. She was like, yo, I'm ready to bounce. Let's go. Her mother flies down from Denver. They both take a 24-hour ride to Denver, Colorado from, I believe it was Atlanta, right? With the kids. Danae is driving for the first 15 hours. Her mother had to convince her to stop. And at this time, Danae is nervous. She's upset, all this stuff, right? So she's trying to contact um, Derek before she left and made all his choices, but he wasn't picking up his phone. He was avoiding her as much as he could. And then finally, he got on a plane to Denver, remembered where her mother's old house was, looked up the address, and was like, yo, I'm outside. She's like, where are you at? I'm here. Danae's like, listen, we're not there. My mother moved. Her mother was like, oh, is that him? You're not going anywhere. You're gonna stay right here. So in the morning, her mother dropped her off to a local McDonald's where she got a chance to meet up with Derek. And Derek is like, yo, you trying to keep me away from my kids? She's like, no, I'm not trying to do that. But before that, he asks us, how long are you gonna be down here? She's like, oh, I don't know, maybe a few weeks. And you gotta understand, Danae is going through a lot of different things, right? If she did not leave Atlanta and come to Denver, she would have been messed up. She was malnourished. She wasn't eating at the time. She was losing weight. All of the stress of the emotional and abuse that she faced and the trauma that she had in 19 and then rushing into a relationship 3 weeks later with Derek, all of that stuff took a toll on her. And so she decided to rebuild herself. And then after a while, they, at a certain point in time, maybe like 2019, 2020, they started to rebuild their marriage, right? And her mother was like, listen, you need to give him time. You're not ready. Like, it's good that he's trying to heal, but now y'all shouldn't be together. Danae is like, no, this is the perfect time. I'm grown. So Danae decides to go back with her husband. And so now Derek is making sure that he prioritizes time for his wife and his kids. Everything's going well until Tasha K comes out with this explosive news that Derek has been cheating. Sorry, that yeah, that Derek has been cheating on his wife Danae. And so that's when everything hit the fan, right? You got to understand that at this time, um, Derek loses his stepfather, so they go to a funeral, and Danae is trying to deal with all this trauma with her husband cheating, even though she knows he's been cheating for a long time, right? Then, come to find out, she's 8 weeks pregnant. So immediately after the funeral, about 3 days later, they come back home. I believe at this time they were in Texas. I want to say they were in Texas or Denver. I think they were in Texas. And so um, she and Derek talk about making this video, and he asks her, are you sure you want to do this? She's like, listen, I've been pushing you to talk about your stuff. I need to push myself too, so let's do it. The video was unrehearsed. Derek did not tell her what to wear or what to say or anything like that. All she could do was say the helmet of salvation. If she was looking in that video, she had on a hat. It wasn't a bonnet. It was a hat she had on, right? And so she had to deal with all that stuff. She sat in front of the camera with Derek. Derek was holding her hand, and it was one of the most awkward videos that anybody had ever seen. But the worst thing about it was that people started to make skits. Famous social media influencers, and I'm not going to mention their names, started to make skits about Danae. To make matters worse, people were blaming her, saying, oh, well, he elevated himself and she didn't follow him, and that's why he cheated on her because she looks like that, not knowing that this woman had dealt with him previously, cheating on her with other women, and then had dealt with postpartum depression with their first two children and was pregnant with their third child. So things were crazy, right? And after that, Derek got with someone in media, a media coach, to show him how to do certain videos and stuff like that, so that so that when something like this comes up, you know how to present it the right way, right? So that happened, and I believe after that, she and Derek, they were not divorced, but they were separated, right? And so I believe around the time that they were separated, Danae made the video said that anybody speaking against me and my husband, she started reading Psalms 100 and all this stuff. But what people don't realize is that she actually had a Bible study prior to posting the separate video where she talks about, people saying that, oh, she's cursing everybody that's speaking against her relationship. She had a Bible study on Psalms 100. But you see, the media is only going to take a small fraction of what they see and blow it out of proportion because, sweet little stories don't sell, but drama, infidelity, mayhem, that sells. And so that's what they took. Also, at the same time, we learned in the interview that Danae Jackson has a Master's of Divinity from Oral Roberts University. And Oral Roberts University is famous for people like Carlton Pearson and the controversial pastor Mike Todd. And so she talked about that. She also talked about a point in time where she and Derek were not having sex at all, right? So they weren't sleeping with each other, but she decided, to give it a try. They slept together 2 days before he asked her for the divorce, right? And basically, he said, you know what? I don't want to sleep with you anymore until the next 2 months, until you deal with your healing, because I know you're still dealing with your trauma that happened from long ago. And she was looking at him like, what's good with this guy? Not to mention, he ended up putting a gag order on her. And then after the divorce, well, here's the thing. The divorce never came. They filed for divorce, right? One day she was sitting in the house and he texted her like, yo, I want a divorce. And then the next day he came to her, mind you, he was upstairs, she was downstairs when he made the text message. So they were both in the same house, but he wasn't speaking with her. And then he came downstairs the next day. He's like, yo, do you understand my message? Like, do you have any questions about it? She's like, no, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And so then he ended up making a separate video for his media account talking about, if you say, oh, that's fine, that's manipulative. That doesn't make any sense, right? So all of this stuff is going on. This man cheats on her, and then he blocked her on all social media accounts, right? Now, I don't know if you guys remember, but a few weeks ago, he made a Mother's Day post saying like, oh, even when you weren't able to be there for yourself, you were there for our kids. And it's like, she had to muster up all the strength that she had because she dealt with you. She didn't deal with the trauma. She jumped into a relationship 3 weeks after she had been sexually assaulted. That's, I don't know anybody that does that, but she was wrapped up in trauma. And he didn't care about her trauma. He didn't care about her healing. He didn't care when she tried to get premarital counseling before they got married a year after he originally had proposed to her, because they were on their engagement. So there were a lot of red flags and things in this relationship. Right now, she's still working on her healing. She also has a program that she's created for couples, specifically women, to teach them, so that they won't go through the same things that she went through. Now, in terms of the interview, right, when Latarius Whitfield got the idea to interview her, he was kind of like, I don't know if I should interview her. She might have unhealed trauma and I don't want to drop into that just yet. But Danae got the call from Latarius. So Latarius decided that he wanted to interview her, but she wasn't sure. And so she went to R.C. Blake, who was her spiritual father. And she said, I don't know much about this podcast. Like, is it legit? So he went and looked it up, checked out Latarius's videos from the Dear Future Wifey podcast. And so Danae decided to come on the platform. And so if there's one thing that I noticed throughout the whole video that I saw, and this is what I can tell you. Danae was laughing about everything, but it seemed like somewhat of a nervous laugh, right? Even though she says that she's healed, I don't think a complete healing process has taken place. Now, let me bring up the divorce, right? It was September 29th, 2022, I believe, when Derek Jackson said he wanted a divorce. On October 15th, he filed irreconcilable differences. And on the 25th of October, Danae filed for adultery. So at the end of the day, we already know what it is. So they are still currently married. They do not live in the same home. They are separated from each other. Derek is going to continue to make his videos and build his social media brand, even though he blocked his wife off of that stuff after creating all these things. And he had to disclose to her shortly before the divorce of how many women that he was with and all this stuff. And I'm pretty sure that's embarrassing But if we look at everything, he has yet to heal. I don't know if he's going to heal. I don't know if he wants to heal. But what I do know is that if he gets into another relationship and he continues to carry on the same way that he did with Danae, it's not going to end well for him. Spiritually, all these soul ties, all these ties to different women, and even thinking of the possibility that these women could have gotten infected at any time. He could have gotten them pregnant. It could have been a whole child support thing. So there's a lot of factors to think about when you think about this relationship. It was a relationship that was doomed from the start. Danae, she didn't deal with the trauma until like 12 years after. And so it was just a lot of stuff that was going on. And so Derek used that trauma to his advantage so that he could sleep with whatever woman he wanted to. And that ultimately broke Danae, but also Danae was a willing participant in everything that Derek did. So, I have to put the blame on both of them. And also the program that Danae Jackson has created is to show people, not to get into these type of situations, but also specifically for women to hold themselves accountable when they allow things like this to happen. Because if you are with a man and you know that he's constantly cheating on you, yet you're still having sex with him, like, it's wrong, And so that's my whole take on this situation. I'm sorry for the long video, but I had a lot to say. I just finished watching it and it was thought provoking, and it came from a Christian perspective, which I loved a lot. You got a lot of other platforms out there, some of them which I will not name, that only want to profit off of people's pain. They want to profit off of people's stupidity and ignorance. They don't care. Some podcasts will even send people to jail. Well, no, podcasts don't send people to jail. The words that people speak and the information that they give on these podcasts are going to send them to jail or even get them with a RICO charge. But that's another story for another time. So I hope you guys like this commentary. If you want to hear more commentary, you can go to my TikTok account, and it's the IMC at the IMC. All right. So once again, I want to thank you for watching. Also, all of my links are below in this video. So afterwards, after you finish watching the video, if you want to check out my links, skits, music, projects, you can do so. All right. Once again, I want to thank you for watching. Take care. Be blessed. And I hope that you learned something from watching this video, but specifically not to end up in a relationship such as that. When you see red flags, run and go to God for spiritual guidance. And find counselors, find people that you can talk to who will give you the right type of information so that you will not end up like they did. And men, if you are in a relationship with a woman and you're constantly cheating on her, find out the root of why you're doing it and where it came from. And if this was passed down from men in your family or friends that you watched. And ladies, be vigilant of those type of men, that on the outside, they look good and attractive and appealing, but on the inside, completely diabolical. All right? Y'all take care. Peace.